Hello,
I'm sure you will be
everyone.
worried.
What? No, we are good. We are good, ma'am.
Okay.
Great. Good afternoon, ma'am. Good day, everybody. I'm excited to be here. My name is Bridget, and I am your host for the third edition of this amazing series where we get to learn about how we can grow our business in the real estate space. Today is going to be a great one because I'm honored to be talking to an amazing lady. She's a strong personality. She's a model to a lot of women out there, and she's also a model to me when I read up on her about the kind of credibility she has. And she is also one who will change narrative in the housing space. I'd like to introduce her. Let me just read a bit about her bio. Um, then I will talk about the topic, and then we'll have a conversation in full. Now, this beautiful lady is a legal practitioner. I'm sure you've seen the balance, but let me do my, job. She's a legal practitioner grounded in different areas of the law profession. She started her career where she learned the ropes of insurance law. And after that, with a lot of other things in oil and gas, with the best hands in probate and land matters, she further challenged herself, forging partnerships with Benga Falabi Benson and Co Lennox, and Blair Estates, venturing into oil and gas, law, and consultancy. Now, she's worked in various establishments that are known and credible as well. But on her way back to Nigeria, armed with such wealth of experience, she decided to delve into the area of um, real estate, which has also been part of what she's been doing, and being a part of the development agenda for Western Nigeria that 6 pillars of development for the Western Nigeria in general. Now, she is the SA and special advisor to the governor of Lagos State on housing. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll make welcome Mrs. Adetoke Benson Awinka.
Hello, how are
Welcome,
you? Good
ma'am.
afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon. It's great to have you here. I'm honored to be speaking with you on this segment, which is the third edition, though, of the entire plan, the entire production. But before we even delve into the topic, it's real estate. And I just wanted to give a brief to the audience out there what real estate is all about. Because some people think it's just all about selling land and property, which actually it is. I mean, anything attached to land and property. But we will be learning on how to best ways to grow the real estate space, grow your business in real estate. Now, for those of you watching, real estate is in quotes, so you get the meaning. It's a land along with any permanent improvements attached to the land, whether natural or man-made. This could include buildings, trees, water, whatever it is on the land. That is real estate. Now, the part of investing is where you're selling and buying, which would obviously and always involve profit. I hope you guys understand. All right. So, being that we know the basics now, there are different types of real estate. We're not delving into that. We're going to be talking straight on how you can best improve your business in the real estate space. So, ma'am, you're grounded in this. You're versatile when it comes to all of these issues. Let's start with the space, the real estate space. Let's start with Lacera, the idea of trying to bring every company or profitable organization or structure under one body to effectively, tackle every decision when it comes to real estate and tackle the negative sides as well, because I think that's the major vision for Lacera. Let's talk about that and how it's faring from its conception till now.
Okay, so for the benefit of the audience who are listening to us and who do not know what exactly LASRIRA is, I would first of all like to let them know that LASRIRA is the Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority, and we have existed as a department in the Ministry of Housing since 2012. There was a law that was done in 2007 under the government of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In 2012, Governor Raji Fashola took it up and set it up as a department in the Ministry of Housing, and it was called the Lagos State Real Estate Transactions Department. And basically what the department then was doing is looking at the entire real estate space, trying to register real estate practitioners, bringing them under one umbrella, one compendium of data that would be available not only for the use of the government, but also for the people of Lagos. So fast forward a few years, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu decided to turn it into an agency. And so on the 9th of February 2020, it became a full-fledged agency. So when it becomes an agency, it now has its autonomy because it is dealing with a side of the industry and the state that is very, very wide in scope. It's a business to a lot of people. It is also something that can actually increase the wealth of both Lagosians and the state as well. So when we look at real estate, we look at it along a very, very wide scope. The value chain in real estate is humongous. It's more than the land and the structure on it. It's also some possibilities that are not really visible to a lot of people. So while you were introducing the topic, I was thinking within me and I thought there's something that we had been looking at and which we have not really gotten to doing. And that is the artisans operating in the real estate scope. So while you are thinking of going into real estate, you could be going into different components of real estate. So I also was watching an ad this morning, and I'm not going to be doing any advertisement for any developer or any company, but I noticed that the guy that was featured in the ad was a guy who had been doing iron fabrication for a particular developer. And he mentioned all the areas or all the landed properties and the estates that he had actually done gates, window pipings, a lot of wire works. And he mentioned all the estates. I have done this, I have done this, I have done this, about 5 or 6 estates for a particular developer. And he says, today, I am a real estate owner because I have also built my house in one of the estates of that particular developer. So he got me thinking that, so real estate business is not just buying and selling of houses. It's not just development of houses. It is also the various components of bringing that structure on the land. So we have people who can actually come together and be employers of labor in the industry, in the real estate industry. We have the engineers, we have the architects, we have the builders, we have the iron people, we have the ones who do the tiling, we have the people who are doing the POP, we have people who are doing lightings. So the value chain is huge. It's huge. And it's one business that a lot of Lagosians have not really looked in, especially people who are thinking of coming into the business and trying to grow their real estate business. I would actually be advising today that we begin to start looking at not just buying and selling, but also providing services along that value chain. So somebody is building an estate of 5,000 houses. I could be the one, or let me just be modest, 500 houses. If I'm a tiling company and I can tile those 500 houses, I've actually created some wealth for myself that was not visible from the onset. So when you go into a building development, most of the artisans that you see there are from Togo, Cotonou, and all whatnot. So even we as a government, I'm beginning to think we need to start developing such
skill sets.
Yes. And make sure that as government too, we can also have a compendium of these artisans that builders can also look into and say, oh, Lagos State government, we need you to give us builders, we need you to give us bricklayers, we need you to give us tilers, we need you to give us painters. So it's actually an opportunity that we as a people can also start looking at. So let me go back to Las Rira. I'll tell you what we do at Las Rira. we're the Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority. Our business as a government is to regulate and sanitize the real estate sector. So what we have started doing since inception in 2020 or 2019, we've started sensitizing the people. And what we're telling them is that because the scope is wide, because there's so many people involved in this business, we also want people to be safe when they're investing. We want also the investors to know that the government is looking out for them and making sure that they have a smooth sail, especially when dealing with government. So we're thinking along the line of ease of doing business and making sure that when you come in for your permits and stuff, we can actually interface on behalf of you.
Yeah. Network isn't back here. I think it just tripped.
So in doing so, the first thing we're doing is keeping a database of all real estate practitioners. And when I say real estate practitioners, we want to know who the builders are, we want to know who the architects are, we want to know who the estate developers are, we want to know who the agents are, we want to know who the brokers are, we want to know who you are. So we keep a list or a database of you on our website. Then people can from all over the world look at our website and say, oh, I need a short let somewhere. I can go into the Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority website and pick one of those developers there or one of those agents there and know that I would not be defrauded. There's a lot of fraud going on in the industry. So when we came on board in 2019, we were faced and saddled with a lot of petitions here and there. And I think from what we did at inception, the bad eggs in the industry already know that we mean business. We would not allow for fraud to continue in the industry. We want real estate business to grow in Lagos. I tell people who care to listen, real estate is the oil of Lagos, and real estate is the oil that every other person in Lagos is dreaming of tapping into. A lot of people want to get into the business. A lot of people want to know how to do the business, but they do not know the know-hows. So for those people and for the rest of the world, we want to make Lagos State the real estate investment destination of Africa and in the entire world, because your returns on real estate in Lagos is not comparable to anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that very, very boldly.
But we are still coming in. Lots of people are still
coming. Exactly. So it means that there is something, that gold that we have in Lagos is nothing. And you can think of it in the sense that Lagos is a state of 24 million people. The land size is very, very minimal compared to the number of people living in here. We have people trooping in by the day. So obviously, real estate is always going to be in demand. It's going to be different from you wanting to buy stocks or you wanting to buy bank bonds.
Where to live.
Because people need it. So it's a case of demand and supply. So no matter what the supply is, we still have a deficit in housing in Lagos.
Yes,
so that is basically what the job of Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory is about. We're to sanitize and we're to regulate the industry, and also to create an enabling environment for people to thrive in that business, to make sure that we launder the image of both the businessmen and the Lagos State government, telling the world that yes, you can actually invest in real estate in Lagos and you can go to sleep without worry that your money is on the line.
Yes. All right, so let's talk about, you mentioned deficits in houses, because yes, there are not a lot of spaces for people to actually rest their heads. There are not a lot of spaces for people to sleep or live.
Yes.
And yes. I know that the government came up with a housing plan, and over the years, they've been able to provide loads of houses for lots of citizens, yeah. Nigerians. But still going back to feedback from a couple of people who have tried to attain these spaces that has been organized and put together by the government. On the island, yes, I've been hearing a lot of feedbacks that are positive, but from the mainland aspect, it hasn't been so positive. A lot of them are of the opinion that the funds in which to acquire or get these, allocated houses are still on the high side, which is profitable for the middle class or the lower class. What do you have to say about that?
Well, if you say people are still saying that what government is providing on the mainland is a bit high, I would want to disagree with that. In 2019, we commissioned 492 units in Igodo. 492 units, 3-bedroom at 10 million naira. With the option of you paying over 10 years, I think you cannot get it anywhere better in this space. Not anywhere in Nigeria would you find an opportunity to do that. So for that 10 million naira 3-bedroom apartment, on
that same statement, I mentioned to the person, or in fact, not one person, like a couple of people, 2-3 people saying that there has been planned. Yes, we don't have a good credit facility here in Nigeria, but they've been able to do this, to give you the 5-year, 10-year plan. But they are still insisting that the initial deposit is still on the high side. Like if you look at the average income and is not, if you calculate with the way you break it down in their budget, it's not so feasible enough to be able to make that kind of initial deposit, even if they pay with a lifespan of 10 years to pay up the debts. So how do we reconcile this? How do we even make it even easier for them? Because I understand that you are all doing the best you can, but if we are still receiving these kind of feedbacks, then there could be truth in them.
Okay, so Igodo is 10 million. We have Ikorodu. We have a commissioning we're coming up with in the next week or so. And 3-bedroom in Igbogo is below 10 million. It's about 7.58 million. So if you're paying 5% of 8 million naira, it means you're paying roughly between 250 and probably 280 or 300,000 naira. And I want the people of Lagos to also know that these things are not things that you do instantaneously. If I want to buy a house, I must have a savings. Okay. Yeah. So let's assume I'm saving 20,000 naira for a year or a year and a half. I should be able to put down that initial deposit because it's going to be 5% of whatever I'm acquiring. So we're not speaking of the island, which we will term as maybe middle class. We're speaking of the mainland now. The Igodo 1-bedroom went for 5 million. So whoever bought that would have put down 250,000 naira initial payment. And one of the things we do is we pre-qualify. So we look at your income. When we look at your income, we do not want you to spend more than 33% of your monthly income on your payback. So you still have about 66 to 67% to do on your other expenses. So only 33%. To micromanage this is, we understand the plight of our people. And our mortgage, the average mortgage you'll get in Lagos is probably 18, 17%. We know that people cannot afford it. And that's why we came up with this rent to own, which has been in existence since Governor Fashola's time. And Governor Sanwo-Olu has also maintained it. I think in the times of Governor Ambode, they also had the mortgage, which also required that you put down 30%. But at the end of the day, he also realized that people could not put that down, that 30%, and he dropped it back to the rent to own, which is the 5%. You cannot get it anywhere better in Nigeria. So I think we are striving. And I also want people to know that there's inflation. The value of the Naira is on a downward trend. Building is expensive. When people talk about low-cost housing, people who are versed in the industry will also tell you there's nothing like a low-cost house, because we all buy the cement from the same market, we buy the iron from the same market, we buy the sand from the same market. So it cannot be low-cost. The only advantage that the government has and why the government is selling at this rate is because the government owns the land. So with the cost of the land out of it, we're able to give them that discount, which is already like 50% of the production value. So I would expect and pray that people would plan towards these things so that it does not become cumbersome or too or unaffordable to them. Because I think government is the only place where you can actually get such a deal right now.
Okay, well, I think a majority of Lagosians or Nigerians are not even aware of that 5% because loads of them are still talking about the 30%. So this is just me saying maybe there should be
No.
more sensitization on this,
Yes.
more activation so that Lagosians can know that the 5% can be the initial deposit. Lots of people don't know that it's 5%. People are still saying it's 30%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Loads
it's
of
called the rent to own program. It's by Lagos State government. And if people, I said this yesterday, an educated consumer is our best customer. So when you read up, if people are interested, when you read up on what we do in Lagos, in the Lagos State government, you'll see that there's a lot of things that are available for the citizens that the people are actually not taking advantage of. So there's an agency of government that also does this pre-qualifying. It's called the Lagos State Mortgage Board. I'm sure that you can go to their website. They would have a list of all the properties the Lagos State Ministry of Housing is building, and they would sometimes have the prices, and it's there. It tells you there's a rent to own program. You pay down, your initial deposit is 5% of the cost of that unit. And then you begin to pay over a 10-year period. And it's not the normal mortgage, because the normal mortgage tells you to pay at 18%. We don't do that. We just divide it over a 10-year period and make sure. And we also pre-qualify, because the pre-qualification is the most important thing. We do not also want to give homes to people who cannot afford them. And that would exclude the rest of the Lagosians who can also afford it, who have been taken off that program because other people have taken the space. And I must tell you that Lagosians do know about it, because we have Shango Tedo coming up as well. Shango Tedo has 700 and something units in the first phase, and we have over 2,800 people pre-qualified already. So I would still urge that people read up and look at the opportunities that are available in government so they can actually take advantage of it as well.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching, please make an effort. You can't be, spoon-fed at all times. You have to be able to search, to be able to read through. But moving on swiftly, let's talk about the peculiarity that buyers, developers, practitioners, and managers should follow.
We should talk about what?
The peculiarities in the in Lagos real estate market, and what buyers, developers, practitioners should follow.
Okay. The major thing that I would first of all want to talk about is us as a government creating a manual for developers. And when I mean a manual, from conception of that idea to completion of that idea.
Yeah.
We as a government, we will do our part by making sure that people know the steps to follow. And when I mean the steps to follow, also because we have had issues with people running to us over land grabbing and the issues of Omonile. And I've said, because Lagos also is a hometown to some people, yeah, and is not some place that has just fallen off the face of the earth in Nigeria. We have people who are indigenous people who actually own this land. Apart from the ones that the government has acquired, which we are also giving to developers from the Lagos State Lands Bureau, we also have people buying from families. And so due diligence is very, very important, because you do not want to go into a development and then you start having issues of Omonile and then land grabbing. We have an agency or a committee in the Lagos State Ministry of Justice called the Land Grabbers Committee. And with the Land Grabbers Committee, I see that you're saying, so you're obviously not aware that there's a Land Grabbers Committee in the Ministry of Justice. Yes, there's a Land Grabbers Committee where you're expected to report if you have, or send in your petitions if you have issues with land grabbers and your landed properties. We've had several petitions come into LASRIRA as well. The ones that we're able to deal with, we deal with it. The ones that we need to transfer to the Land Grabbers Committee, we send it to them and they look at the circumstances around it and try to sort out the discrepancies either in the sales or in the land ownership tussle. So Lagos State government, we have provided all this for our developers and real estate practitioners to know that we have enough on ground for you as a government to help you have that seamless growth in your business. So aside from that, one of the issues that we as a government have also faced with the developers and the practitioners is the issue of permits. We have people building indiscriminately in Lagos, and you do not want to build to a certain level and then have government come in there and say, where's your planning permits, where's your development permits, and then government pulls down your structure. It would look insensitive, but it is important that we plan the city. We call Lagos a mega city. We cannot be a mega city if everybody and everyone does as they please. There's a Lagos State Master Plan at the Ministry of Fiscal Planning, and if you build in a place that is designated to be residential, and you build commercial there, you want to do it and say, oh, we're going to regularize. In the process of regularization, what if you are unable to regularize? And that structure needs to do a change of use or revert back to the original use. It becomes, oh, Lagos State government is unfriendly, Lagos State government is this, but we already have our guidelines. So you want to build your first approach as a real estate practitioner, make sure that you're registered with the Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority as a practitioner in Lagos. Then you would go either to the Land Bureau where you want to purchase the land, or go into the private sector partnership program with the Ministry of Housing. Then you go to the Land Fiscal Planning Ministry, where they tell you this is what you need to have, this is what you need to do, and then we'll give you a permit. But you find out that people buy land and begin to build and say, oh, we would regularize. Yes, sometimes it might be our own fault because some of our officers will look the other way and collect bits and pieces. By the end of the day, it costs you more than if you do the right thing. So I would expect you to follow the rules so that you would have a seamless and effortless process in your building. And once that is done, I think as a good citizen, you pay your taxes as well, because Lagos lives on the taxes. So people would ask, what is the difference between Lagos and Zamfara? We all get federal allocations. Is the federal allocation that we get from the federation enough to put Lagos where Lagos is today? I will tell you no. So what makes Lagos different from Zamfara is the people who live in Lagos and the taxes that we get from the people of Lagos. So when I say approach the Fiscal Planning Authority or the Fiscal Planning Department, it's also for us to be able to plan for where you want to build. So let's assume you want to build a 500-unit estate. There's no drainage, there are no roads, there's no water, and you build in the middle of nowhere. It's not going to enhance your development. It's not going to give you the optimal value of that development. And then you'll also have people who are saying, oh, there's no water in that place, I don't want to go there. So it not only disturbs your business, it also disrupts our own regulations and our own planning as a government. Because when we know that 500-unit structure is coming up in that place, then we're able to provide new roads, we're able to provide the drainage, link the drainage, and we're able to bring in probably electricity in there and water. If we're unable to do that for you and you build, you don't get what you're supposed to get from your real estate investment. So a lot of these things are things that we expect that developers in this space and people going into the real estate business will always have at the back of their minds. Just follow due process. Follow what you're supposed to do.
Sometimes due process, sometimes I want to understand from the private sector that sometimes due process takes longer time. You know how it is when you submit files, you want to follow protocol from this office to that office. And because you mentioned a lot of processes that a layman who wants to just build a house and just be happy with his family. Will be
so,
like,
you know, nowhere else in the world would you just want to build a house.
All of it. Now, at this,
I lost you.
Well, you know, it depends on where they want to build the house. It depends on where they want to build the house. I'm just putting myself in layman terms. Like if I'm just a lady, like now I want to build a house, and with all the things you've said, it's a process, and it feels like it's happening process. So is there a way it can be made easier? Is it made easier via the La Serera site, or there is another body that can help you, do these, go through these processes to ensure that at the end of the day, your structure is right where it should be without having any fines or having any, threats from the government to pull it down?
So there's some processes that are not government processes, and that is the due process that you do or you have to go through when you want to procure your land. That is not a government process. That is something that you as an individual must do. So the government process is, if you want to build real estate to sell or as a business, you need to register with LASRIRA as a practitioner. And when I say register with LASRIRA as a practitioner, it's something you can do on your laptop. You can do it from the comfort of your home. Register and you get your permit. You get a temporary permit online within 30 days or 2 weeks. You get your hard copy permit and you're good to go. The next step you do, you go to the physical planning ministry. And that is where you submit details of what you want to do, what you want to grow. And I can tell you that Respite is also coming in the Ministry of Physical Planning because they're going to automate their processes as well. And building and planning permits will come out. They're promising us within 28 days. So there are options like everywhere else in the world. If I want to apply for a passport out of Nigeria, I have the 7-day, I have the 24 hours, I have that. So you have the option to choose whichever one you want. It's not as cumbersome as it sounds. It's just a detailed, I'm giving them a detailed information on what needs to be done. So it sounds like it's long, it's not long. Once you submit it, it gets into processing. Hopefully in 28 days, you get your building permit or you get your planning permit and you're good to go. But you need to follow these processes. And tax. Tax should be, people do not like to speak about tax, but I always speak about tax because that is what put that road, that is what makes Lagos where it is. That's what makes Lagos different from Zamfara. Or you understand what I'm saying? I keep saying Zamfara because it sounds so remote and so far. But it's not meant to be derogatory, but that is what makes Lagos different from all other places. We collect your tax and we make sure that we put that infrastructure in place for you to see.
Okay, so talking about infrastructures or structures, how has the Lagos state government put structures in place to manage the current housing deficit?
So as a government, we cannot provide all the housing for the people residents in Lagos. And one of the things that we are doing as a government to make sure that we bridge that gap is to invite private developers to build alongside with the Lagos State Ministry of Housing. And that you can see in some of the commissionings that we have done in the last 2 years. In 2020, we commissioned 2 projects in Etiosa. One was 120 something units, and I think both were about 252 units. And that's in Elegushi area and the Lekki Phase 1 area. We have some apartments and then we have some maisonettes. And those were done in collaboration with the state government. The state provides the land, and then we bring in developers who have the capacity to build, and they build. And so that's a joint effort thing that we do. So we did 2 of those last year. We also did some this year. We did Ikmori Housing Estate, where we have 132 units, also by a private developer in conjunction with the Lagos State Ministry of Housing. We commissioned 252 units in Badagry, also with a private developer in conjunction with the Lagos State Ministry of Housing. So government alone cannot provide the housing needs of Lagos because we have other things to do. So our own encouragement is to make it seamless for private developers to bridge that deficit, if not in partnership with us, but create a conducive environment for them to be able to trade. And when I mean trade, to build and to develop Lagos. Apart from the infrastructure that government puts in place, the privates are the ones who have provided the housing needs of Lagos. So our own part of it is social housing, where we can help and make sure that people who are below mid-class can also have the opportunity to become property owners, bring them up that property ownership ladder. And that's why we have all those houses that we're building. Yes, we cannot build in Victoria Island and call it social housing. We cannot build in the heart of Surulere and call it social housing. We can build in the suburbs. But when we did Ikmori is in Surulere, and that it has become, I will say, slightly above social housing because of the demand and because of what obtains in Lagos now. Like I said, building materials are expensive and we all get
when demand
materials
increases,
from the same market. What did you say?
no, I was just understanding what you were saying. So as the demand increases, then the supply will definitely reduce sometimes
Exactly,
or become more
exactly. So
expensive
it pushes
because
up the price. So the only thing we as a government can do is try
yeah.
to maintain to build in the suburbs. So next week, we're going to be commissioning 360 units in Igbogbo. So we're going to make 360 people homeowners in Lagos as well. After that, we have so many others that we're going to commission before the end of this year. And I'm particularly excited because those 360 people probably would not have dreamt of being homeowners but for the efforts of the state government. And then we're not even asking them to put down the complete price of that home. We're telling them to put down a fraction to become a homeowner. And that's why we call it the rent to own. So you're basically renting, but you're owning that structure at the end of 10 years. But we just need the commitment of the people of Lagos to make sure that once we do that for you, you do not default in your payments. Because we also have a law coming up in the House of
So
Assembly.
what's the price? I'm particularly interested in that one now. So what is the 5% or the fee that they're going to put down for the initial deposit for the housings that are being put up in Igbogbo?
Yes, I think Igbogbo, the 3-bedroom is between 7 and 8 million. So if we do the math and we do 5% of 7 million, 5% of 7 million should be about 350,000 naira. So for somebody who has been saving to buy up a home and you're just putting down 350,000 naira to become a homeowner in Lagos, it is a big deal. I think we deserve a round of applause for that.
Yes, you do.
And
you do. Well done.
10 years to pay back on that property. I think you cannot get it any better living in Lagos State. So, and then I think the 1-bedroom should be between 3 and 4 million. So for a young single man who wants a place to stay, it's a big deal because that 200,000 or 150,000 you're going to put down as your deposit is probably your 6 months or 1 year rent, and that home is not yours. So I would encourage homeowners and Lagosians to make sure that they look into this, go to the Lagos State Mortgage Board website and see what is going on in Lagos housing. We are actually providing houses for the people of Lagos.
Yes, you are.
And I mean, with that social consciousness that people in Lagos cannot afford what the developers are building.
I mean, you guys are actually, your team is doing a great job. Hearing all this information now, I'm sure some of them that are tuning in and watching on YouTube right here and even on some of our live platforms are pretty excited because some of your questions, some of the answers you gave already answered some questions that I got personally in my DMs when I put up notification of the housing, how you can make it affordable for the low class, how the year plans, you've spoken well on all of those things, but let's talk in general how LASERERA has been able to, curb fraud in the real estate space. What are those strategic implementations that have been made by your government?
We started off with advocacy. So people are wondering, what is LASERERA? So we told people this is what. So let me give you a story. On my first day in office, we had a group of people come into the House of Assembly chanting for help, and they were directed from the assembly to the state government in Alausa. And so I had people carrying placards in front of my office. They need help. They need the government to come to their rescue. And this is telling you why we need people to support LASERERA. So he actually collected monies from 252 people, knowing fully that he only had 15 units to sell. So on this fateful day, he asked them, gave them a date to pick up the keys. So it became a first come, first serve thing. Of course, it
Mhm.
became a fracas, and the police was called in and everything. So they came to the state government asking for help. So if you're going to come to the state government asking for help, you also have to support the state government to protect you. Because what LASRIRA does is protect the indigenes and the citizens of Lagos. So
Yeah.
we look at their case, we are prosecuting on their behalf. Before them, when LASRIRA was a department under the Ministry of Housing as Lagos State Real Estate Transactions Department, they also prosecuted cases, and they were able to get judgments and get homes forfeited on behalf of the citizens, where the citizens are going to get their monies back. So these things take a long time, but we're already trying to put structures in place to make sure that we get justice on time. So one of the things we've done is we've approached the Chief Judge of Lagos State. We've asked for special courts to hear real estate matters. So if you're defrauded or you have a petition and you bring it to us, or for instance, what is happening with the Alakbere people, we get that matter dispensed off quickly. If we have to put up that structure for sale, sell off that structure and pay back every other person for that, because it's a 15-unit structure. There's no way we can give it to 252 people. Recently, also in Ajah area, 144 units, 144 people were also sold maybe less than 10 units. So it's happening constantly on a daily basis. It happened in Agege, 300 people bought into a particular structure that is not available for 10 people. In Bagada, which is right here in town, it was 5 units and 75 people paid for it. So people do that on a daily basis. So with this, I'm actually pleading to the people of Lagos to support the state government to help all other people, indigenous and citizens of Lagos. Because when the problems come, it becomes the government problem of the government, because the government is supposed to protect lives and property. And that is part of the things that government has to do. So we do not want the scenario where people would ask, what exactly are you doing to help us? We would now ask the people, what exactly are you doing to help government protect you? So one of the things that I would ask Lagosians to do is not deal with any agent or any practitioner who has not bought into LASRIRA.
The website. Yeah.
LASRIRA, as in the understanding of government to protect you. So in the Western world, you cannot do real estate business if the government does not know you. So we created this structure so that we know where you are. We do not want briefcase agents who have no office address, or briefcase developers who are building and selling to people and selling to 1,000 people with 200 units. That is the only way we can help government protect Lagosians. We need to know where their businesses are. And the only way we can know where their businesses are is when they're registered with us. We have our bill at the House of Assembly, and when it becomes law, anytime from now, we would prosecute when you do not register with government and you go into real estate business. So we've actually done advocacy for over 1 year now, that we need to know who you are. We need to know what you're doing, because we have to protect the people of Lagos. We also need that database for planning purposes. Like I said, I give you that example of when you build an estate, there's no road, there's no water, there's no electricity, and there's no drainage, or your drains. And then you become a liability to the rest of the citizens of Lagos who have actually subscribed into what the government wants them to do. So in order for us to maintain that mega city status, and for us to make sure that we also keep real estate investments, we make it something that is admirable to the rest of the world. We need to make sure that there's a structure in place. We want to protect diaspora fund coming into real estate in Lagos. We have gone past the age of I'm sending money home to my sister to buy me land and to build for me, because we already have developers who are building to sell. So those developers who are also building to sell, we've had cases of fraud in that segment too. People paying developers monies for off-plan developments. The minute you put a signpost somewhere, 3-bedroom, 200 3-bedrooms coming up, pay your initial 5 million naira and pay 1 million for the rest of the duration of the project. And the developers are unable to deliver to the people. Nobody is protecting them. That is why LASRIRA is here. LASRIRA is here to make sure that Lagos is protected, citizens are protected, monies are not lost to fraud, and we're conforming with global best practices. So we want people in the diaspora to come and invest in real estate in Lagos. We need to make sure that there's an enabling environment for that to thrive. That is what LASRIRA is doing right now.
Okay, that's a great one. But let me ask, before I go into other questions that might seem a bit more of you as a woman, for those that have already gotten lands prior to when LASRIRA kicked off, and they have started working on those lands, now that this body has been established, how do they key into that? What do they now need to do? Because I mean, they started laying the foundation of their land, building blocks, working with, the normal local builders, buy this here and there, buy iron here and there. So how do they now key into that, stop all of that, and now key into the body that LASRIRA is, and to continue their production and, building?
So we do not penalize you for being a developer before the advent of LASRIRA. We only expect you to regularize and tell us that this is, just go to our website, lasrira.lagostate.gov.ng. Register as a developer, register as a practitioner, register as a real estate agent, register as a housing cooperative. And your registration starts the minute you enter into your keyboard, blah, 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 blah. I'm Toke Benson and Co. I'm a real estate developer, and I provide all my details there. I get my permit. You renew the following year. So it's just one registration for a year. It's not as if you have to register for every project that you do. You register just as a developer or as an agent in Lagos. So it really does not affect what you're doing right now.
So
it's just that
what you're doing.
Oh yes, it does not stop anything that you're doing. Just register and get a permit to be a real estate player in Lagos. And so people ask, what are my benefits? I will tell them today that they're benefits because we're on World Wide Web. I'm speaking to you right now. People in Australia can see us. The same way when you register with LASRIRA and they go into that Lagos State government website and they see, oh, Toke Benson and Co, real estate practitioners. And I can also advertise that, oh, I have 5-bedroom maisonette in Alakpere. I have 2-bedroom units of apartments in Victoria Island. I have 5 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms in Ikorodu or Badagry. So I'm already on the World Wide Web, and I'm on that secured environment of the Lagos State government. And I expect that anything that I do on that site is protected, or whoever I meet on that site has been verified by the government and is somebody I can do business with.
Whichever ways, it's a win-win for both the developer, the buyer, the seller, because at least even if there was or there is going to be any error, you know who to go to. It's a certified registered person, so it's easy to deal with than dealing with any random.
Exactly.
So I totally understand, and I hope the audience listening out there is getting this information, because we're doing this. Think Mint and Ideas are doing this for you. And Lagos State government is very, very keen in protecting its citizens, as you have stated. I'm happy, actually. Yes. I'm going to keen to do. So let's move on swiftly to you as a woman in the real estate space. I mean, how did you get here?
I always tell people that every other person in Lagos is a real estate practitioner or a real estate player. So, and that's one of the reasons why I have become passionate about this. A lot of people can actually wake up tomorrow and say, what can I do? Okay, I have a bit of money. What can I invest in? And you look around you. And for your information, the only industry that has been unaffected by the pandemic is the real estate industry. And when you ask people, they're telling you, oh, we can't put our money into bonds. We cannot put our money into this. We cannot put our money into that. The banks are not paying interest anymore. So why do I need to put my money there? Why don't I put it into a proper structure and then I can say that my investment is real? Apart from Bitcoins, which exactly I can say it. Bitcoins, I'm skeptical about cryptocurrency. As an Ijebu girl, I want to see what I'm holding. We want to see what we have. We don't want it abstract. And that is why real estate is real. So how did I get here? I'm a child of circumstance. As a lawyer, of course, I have dealt in several real estate transactions in the past. I've lived abroad and I have seen the way things are being done in the West. and I've seen the lapses that we have in Nigeria. So I have come into government thinking, oh, these are the things that we should do better. These are the things that we need to put in place. We need to put structures in place. And I've just basically processed who I am and what I want my Lagos to be like. And I have brought it into government, and the governor bought into that vision as well, the same way I have bought into his vision to make Lagos the 21st century economy. So when I was in the transition committee of Mr. Governor, I didn't want to have anything to do with housing, because I thought, oh my goodness, the problems in housing are enormous. And fortunately, unfortunately, or fortunately, when I got my posting, I was posted to the Ministry of Housing. And I just thought, well, now you're going to make good use of what you have always complained about, the thoughts and the things that you think should have been done better in housing. Yeah, we picked up those laws, we looked at it, we looked at the things that are missing in society and what government needs to put in place. And you know, they say women are very passionate about the things they do. So the passion that I've actually brought into it is what you're seeing today, and the encouragement of Mr. Governor. And you know, your boss determines who you become, or what you become, or the achievements that you get. If you have a boss who has not bought into your vision as a person, you would not thrive. So he let me bring myself into what I'm doing, and that is what we are seeing today. The passion has been from his encouragement and his, when I say, Mr. Governor, we need to have the strata titling in Lagos. We need to have the condominium law. And he says, okay, what is that about? And I'm saying that, oh, Mr. Governor, when we were growing, when we were young, we lived in single family homes. We had our compounds to ourselves. But today, because there's so many people in Lagos, we're building up. We're not spreading anymore. So in building up, we're now building estates. We need to have laws that will protect individuals who live in those estates. We need to protect where my rights begins is where yours stops, and where yours stop is where mine begins. We need to know what we as a community in that estate would be jointly responsible for. So we would have problems in places like 1004. We would have problems in places like the Jakonde estates that have been built of old, because we didn't put in place facility managers. We didn't have laws that, you know, guided their living together. So those are the kind of things that we have thought about, and we're bringing back into the society to make it a saner society for all. Mr. Governor used to be at LSDPC, so he's also very passionate about housing and real estate, and he's also a surveyor by training. So he knows some of these things, and there are things that we need to put in place, and I'm just complimenting his efforts or his knowledge of what should be in that sector as well. So I found myself here as I'm a real estate regulator and a practitioner myself. I think real estate is the way to go. So if you ask me what would grow Lagos, I will tell you real estate, real estate, real estate. If you tell me to talk about finance, I tell you that real estate brings the financing also into Lagos. So we have oil, but we have not tapped into it completely. But this oil, our land, is what everybody else wants. Everybody wants a piece of the real estate in Lagos. So it makes it a very, very valuable asset. And I find myself very privileged. I count myself privileged to be where I am today, and seeing that vision and also being able to flow along with it. So my legal background also gives me the opportunity to know that these are the things that we need to put in place. These are the structures that need to be there for us to make that environment thrive and make Lagos an investment destination. So I want people to come in from South Africa and say, we need to own that piece of real estate in Lagos. We have Nigerians living abroad. Everybody wants to own a piece of real estate in Lagos. So you can see that the supply is so minimal compared to the demand. So real estate in Lagos will continue to thrive and will continue to go up. It's something that I don't see coming down, because we're not creating any more space. We're not gifted with that much land in Lagos. So whoever owns a piece of that action is holding a very, very valuable asset to keep for eternity. So I found myself here today. I'm grateful, and I'm loving it.
I can see that. I mean, a legal practitioner and, of course, a real estate practitioner and regulatory, personality. It's interesting that it's like a total package, and that's what's exciting me, because from the legal background, coming into real estate, being that you've lived there, you've observed what's going on in diaspora, you're here now to implement these things, and not just by implementing it, by having legal backings. And I'm actually waiting for that bill to be passed on the law that will be passed against those that defraud.
Yeah.
People who want to buy, people who want to install, because I'm actually waiting for that. It happens a lot of times. And
yes,
people just get away with it.
Yes.
They just walk free, they're jailed, okay, detained for 1 month, 2 months, then let go. Your millions are gone. So we have a couple of questions from the audience. We have a couple of questions from the audience, just 2 questions, and I'll carry on with our conversation. The first one asked, how accessible, I know we've talked about rent to own, but this person asked, how accessible is the rent to own program? And the second question is about rents and agency fees. We'll just answer them both in one so we can quickly move on. The second question about rents and agency fees.
For the rent to own program, like I said, go to the Lagos State website of the Lagos State Mortgage Board, and you would see the list of houses they have right now. We have 360 units going up in Igbubu. I know a lot of Nigerians have also pre-qualified for that. We have 660 units coming up in Agbowa. We have 1,300 units coming up in Shongotedu. We have 400 units coming up in Badagry. So it's scattered all over Lagos. So log on to the Lagos State Mortgage Board website, and you'll be able to see all the programs that we have for rentals and ownership in Lagos. So for the agency fees, I was on your View 2 days ago, and it was also a topic of discussion. Agency fees is 10% or below. So if you have big ticket transactions, I mean, if I have $1 billion, a billion naira transaction, nobody's going to pay me 10%. So you begin to negotiate. So it's negotiable. So I expect the 10% to be 5% agency, 5% legal. So it also, there's room to maneuver and there's room for negotiation. But we've had instances of people complaining they're being told to pay 30%, 20%. We're going to address that very, very quickly. We're going to call a conference of agents in Lagos. We're going to speak to them. We're going to tell them what the loss is. And then we're going to create a whistleblower scheme where if you want to rent a property and the agent demands more than the statutory 10%, we prosecute. Or we make sure that we make an example of some people, because we want to make Lagos a 21st century city. We don't want Lagos to be a place where anything goes. We want Lagosians, I mean, things are hard enough. If as an agent, you have 10 clients looking for 10 different units, that's 100% you've made. 10 times 10 is 100% you made. But if you push people away and you tell people, we've had instances where they've said the rent is 120,000, the agency is 150,000. I mean, who does that? It's fraudulent. And so we're going to speak to agents. We're going to make sure that we deal with that. I know the number is huge. There's going to be an uproar, but government has to be government. We will sit at tables and we will discuss. Sometimes they say they have more than one agent on a particular transaction. You find a way to deal with that. Yes, you find a way to deal with that. We don't want Shylock agents or landlords or, in Lagos. We want to regulate the system. We want it to be clean, because once it is clean, you can get international investors in real estate in Lagos. But once it is run in a way that you can do anything you want, nobody wants to come into that space.
So will renting your property via LASRERA curb this situation of agents and lawyers, or is after you guys or after the team sits and deliberates?
So we want to remain as regulators. We do not want to go into that business of rentals. What we can do is, once we have you on our website and people want to rent, they can always go to our website and pick a particular developer, a particular tenant. We don't want to go into, we're regulators. We shouldn't be competing.
Yes.
So we would maintain our space as regulators, but we will create an enabling platform for people to trade. That's what we would do.
Okay, so are there any innovative approach by the state to encourage young people to invest in real estate?
Yes. One of the things that we just did, we passed, we did an executive bill to the House of Assembly last year, December. It's called the Mortgage Foreclosure Law.
Mm.
So one of the questions at your view was there's discrimination on, oh, I don't want to rent my home to a particular ethnic tribe. I don't want to rent my home to you if you're a single lady. I don't want to rent my home to you if you're a woman. If you want to rent husband, I mean, I'm a woman and I can afford it. Why should there be discrimination against me? So I said to the host at your view that, well, because they're private owned businesses, we cannot delve into that. But what we can do is to make sure that we can assure them that their investments will be protected. And one of the things that we have done is to introduce that mortgage foreclosure law. So that has been missing in our laws, in our mortgage laws, and that clause has come in. And this is to encourage investors in the real estate sector. So if I have a sit tight tenant, I don't have to go to court to get that tenant out of my house. So if you default and it's 1, 2, 3 warnings or whatever, we can go into foreclosure proceedings. So in whatever agreement I've given to you, we're also going to sign it there. I'm not going to go to court before I get you out of my house, because we will go to court and sit down there for 10 years. We also want to declog the law courts. We don't want people, justice delayed is justice denied. So that is a major one for real estate practitioners and people who are looking into investing in real estate, because I've heard people would say, oh, if I build and then I lease or I rent, and then the tenant pays me 2 years. After 2 years, it doesn't pay me for the next 5 years. So that is a discouraging thing. So with this, there's going to be a lot of investment and influx of investments into real estate, because is the way to go. Practitioners have clamored for it, and I'm glad that Mr. Governor was able to do that for us, with the practitioners and with the regulators, so that we can increase investment in real estate, in the real estate sector. But I also want you and every other person listening to me to think about what we said at the inception of this program, why I encouraged people to have artisans, group of artisans. As a business owner, I can decide to go into tiling and think, oh, I want to do tiling for real estate developers. And I can tell you that you're as good as the person who is doing the building construction itself. You're as good as the engineer who is doing it, because I'm going to be tiling every piece, every square meter within that enclave. And we should stop giving that to foreigners, because that is where our money is going to. We're getting all our cash flow in that area of artisanry outside of Lagos. So it's about time we start thinking of how we can, and I know that this generation, they do everything online, everything online. So I think those are the things that we need to look at in real estate for people who are coming in. It doesn't have to be you actually acquiring the land and building. It is also part giving services to complement the infrastructure might be something that new people who want to come into the business can look at. And I can bet you that they're not going to be because it doesn't matter to them whether after you sell, you're able to, after you build, you're able to sell. They would have done that service and they would have gone. So I think those are the things that we need to look at. There are people who are doing glass windows, different things, plumbing, blinds, different things. So I think that is what new people coming into the industry should be thinking about, not putting the brick and the mortar. Yes, we have a lot of engineers, we have a lot of builders, but we have a limited resource. So if you want to build a shower and you want to do a glass, they'll tell you, oh, it's just one company, so and so. Why can't we have 100 companies doing that so it becomes competitive? Why can't we have 100 or 50 tiling companies doing that, or 50 plumbing? Why do we have to bring all those skills in from outside of our shores? The things that we need to look at as individuals to actually boost this economy and also boost business in real estate for people who are just thinking of coming into it.
This is also a major message to most of the private sector, sector really indulging in real estate. I think that they should really take note of this, because they are the people that always go out and about to get external people to come work on their projects. So private sectors, listen, you need to come in words. Let's build ours. Let's build our home. I know we're pressed for time and we're about to wrap up. And I'm pretty excited. I hope I can call you Auntie Toke. this Mrs. Toke has been
yeah,
all right. It's been amazing talking to you. I truly appreciate this. I'm honored to be speaking with you, and I look forward to more conversations as for when it concerns real estate, legal advice, consultancy, and all of that. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I have an auntie. Nobody should come and try me.
Anytime, Imelda, anytime. I'm at your service. I'm available.
All right. So first off, let me just reintroduce myself. My name is Bridget. I'm the host of the conversation. Imelda, of course, is the brand behind the real estate, business kind of procurement property company that deals in all of these things. I'm a presenter, I'm an actor, a TV host of Silverbird TV. And ladies and gentlemen, this is where we call it a wraps of the conversation. Thank you so much, Mrs. Toke. Sorry, Auntie Toke.
Auntie Toke. Thank you very much. Nice talking to you. Of course, anytime. I don't like the formality either, so it's okay. It's okay. I look forward to talking to you offline, okay? Take care of yourself, and thank you for having me here. Yes. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
All right, bye-bye.
I will try. Happy weekend and regards to the family.
Thank you.
Hold on. We are going to, before we end the live, if you're done, I just wanted to ask one or two questions. How would you encourage ladies to go into that space before we go offline? Because you're a woman in this space. A lot of women are, in real estate, but not just in the buying and selling. Now, I'm talking about in the plumbing, the tiling, and all those other sectors that really require, physical abilities. How would you encourage women to go into it?
So, I have a group of women also who call themselves real estate practitioners, women real estate practitioners. I don't think they have actually thought of this thing I'm talking to you about. And late last year, I spoke to one of our big developers, and I said to him, I'm going to look at how we as a government can bring together people. We have several ministries and agencies in the state government that deal with artisan training, wealth creation, and stuff like that. And we have the Ministry of Women Affairs that also deals with things like this. I think we're going to have to probably do a collaboration with people like you and other mentors, women mentors, and how we can bring in. I'm a politician. And I do not like the fact that all the women do in politics is sing and dance. We can create wealth for our women. Yes, we can create wealth for our women by making sure they come into such things and we grow them. So this is something that we'll be able to talk more about offline and create a platform where we can actually encourage women, create wealth around women, because women can do these things. We have women drivers driving our Loma buses, our Loma trucks that pick up trash. Yes, we do have them. We have women taxi drivers, women Uber drivers exist all over the world. We need to encourage dignity in labor here as well. Yeah, we need to encourage dignity in labor. Like we said, there's so the value chain in the real estate industry is humongous. So yes, we already have them in the finance. Finance is a major thing in real estate. Finance is major. But let's look at the artisanry, because we have women who need to be developed. We have women who need to be shown the dignity of labor and how they can, that woman does not need to be the one on the floor banging the towels. Because even the men who are doing it have young boys and young who actually do the manual labor. So why not? I think it's something that we'll start discussing. So I'm actually going to encourage every woman listening to me that space is open, and we need to look at it more closely to become something that we don't want to sit in the kitchen all day long anymore. Yes. So we want to be helpers. We want to be helpers. We don't want to be.
Let's all build it together. Men are like, okay, so thank you so much, ma'am.
I
The
know.
network just froze for-
Thank
for-
you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will communicate offline after this. I'll speak with Imelda and we'll have
All
a
right.
conversation one-on-one. Thank you so much for
Thank
the
you.
opportunity. I'm sure they're all excited. Their questions have been answered. My questions have been answered. And we will take your advice and we'll try and join Lagos State government to help improve the real estate space.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Bye-bye.